Good afternoon. Friday. It's pleasant, about 71, 72, not much wind. It's beautiful. And I spent the day reading, so I'm a little baffled. My eyes are adjusting to the out of doors, to the pervasive green that is our existence, our wonderful existence these days. So while things are going on well here, we have the irresponsible children on the Hill. And more, you probably feel the same way. We the people, are feeling that these so-called adults should have settled this. And what's the settlement? Well, the settlement in the best or worst case is you increase the debt limit, period, and you make some concessions on the budget, but you don't go near Social Security, Medicare, a whole variety of things. And if you can't do that, then you don't have an agreement, and the government fails. And if the government fails by June the 1st, then we have, $10 billion in retirement pay, retirement funds, military pay and retirement funds. And then on the next day, we have problems. I think we have a $5 billion hit on Social Security payments. So you get the idea that this could be important. And some think we could lose as many as 8 million jobs if we actually default. Now, that would focus the attention of the average responsible person. And the division between Republicans and Democrats should not be the question of the Republicans saying we don't want to give anything. So anything we give to the people that we supposedly represent across the nation, we're going to give grudgingly, we're going to give in small amounts. And if we hadn't made the pledge on the State of the Union message when Biden put us in that barrel, we'd try to cut back Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, whatever we could. So that's the situation. Now, I'm saying all of this because sometime today, while I was talking to some friends of mine on the Hill, they got notice that the talks had broken down on this Friday. Now, June 1st is, a week away, and these guys intend to take it to the cliff. And I said these guys because I think they think it favors both parties if they appear to be fighting to the last moment, and then in a cliffhanger, they do something that they could do responsibly months ago. That's what's wrong with our Congress. We don't have people representing us. We have people in a show, in a theater project, which is tragic in the sense that there's a fatal flaw for our lead protagonists in that instead of doing the goddamn job, they're messing up American society. It's not acceptable, and it goes on every level. So that's number one on my hit parade for Friday. The question will be, if they accept the model that I think makes sense, which is we have a clean bill on the question of increasing the debt limit, and they'll probably want passing at exactly the same time a bill that sets forward, tops out, maximums. How long is this cap in place in this budgetary item, and for how long? That's how they'll write this up. It'll be more complicated than I just said it because there'll be a lot of characters in these negotiations who want this or that. And McCarthy's his leadership is hanging by a thread, so that's not very encouraging. So that's the debt ceiling fight. It's a made-up fight. There's really only one solution. My favorite Senator Seneca, said the fates lead you to your destiny or drag you to it. Well, I'm hoping they're not being dragged to a destiny of default. And I think they're being dragged, despite this posturing, to a destiny that has some package that they both can run out and say, yes, we've done enough. When in fact, all they've done is put us all at risk and made us more anxious with another stressor that is absolutely unnecessary in these days when we have members of Congress looking like school children throwing hats back and forth that belong to some kid in the middle running back and forth trying to get his hat on a cold winter day. I know none of you have ever seen that happen, but that's the way it strikes me these guys are doing it. So, there is... I'm not big on sports. When I've done sports, I've followed it. You know, if I have a weakness, it's to watch movies instead of a sporting game. Although occasionally I like to see boxing, and unlike most of you, I watch a swimming event because I swam competitively, and occasionally I try to get in some event or other, but I think I'm past that. So, but when I was younger, I watched Ali as a boxer and Jim Brown as a halfback he was just the Cleveland Browns. He was just amazing. And I still have in my mind 2 images of Jim Brown, who passed away today at 87, I believe. One was he was running down the field. There were people on his legs, on his back, and he was still going. Man Mountain. Amazing. Another was that he and Ali, another great fighter, beautiful fighter to watch, paid with his brain and whole portions of his life to do the sport the best that he could do it. Well, once these two were walking together across a field, and Brown was running around him, and he was so graceful, and he was teasing Ali, and Ali was himself pretty graceful, and they were playing back and forth. Those 2 images of those athletes, it seems to me, are frozen in time for what superior athleticism looks like. But Jim Brown wasn't just a player, not that at his level you could ever say just, but he was also a movie star, and they kind of used some of his abilities, his speed and stuff like that. And he was an activist, a civil rights activist. There was an important meeting he put together with Ali and some athletes to raise the consciousness of what they thought about the civil rights in America, which was, well, certainly in those days, I think it was 1967 he had the meeting. So that's sort of what we have today. There are a couple of other things that are interesting. Biden, it appears, has announced there's going to be F-16 training, so that with regard to Ukraine, and that is an advance. And we have Scott has announced that he's running for president in the Republican primary. That's not that he has a chance in hell. And then there is our Georgia prosecutor, Willis, made a joke that when she said in January the prosecution was imminent, that was in legal time. Well, okay. She makes a joke. She makes a joke at a time, though, when she's saying to the court in Georgia that they should not have cases in August for 2 weeks. And she's having staff participate remotely, except those who are participating in the event, which we all assume is the indictment of, if not of Trump, of others. But if it's not of Trump, then it's a big yawn, in my opinion. And that there will be people in the offices who have weapons. That is to say, the detectives and law enforcement and so forth. So maybe they have gotten threats down there, lots of threats, and this is a realistic reaction to it. She hasn't announced it so much to the public as what her communications to the judges have become public. So it sounds like it's the real thing, and I have to assume that it's not based on hypothetical possibilities, that they must have some intelligence about this. So that's the sweep of things that caught my attention today. I don't know how we improve upon members of Congress who are so used to posing rather than doing, acting in time rather than hanging us up at great risk. Especially in these days when there are so many things that are loose and controversial and seemingly not being handled responsibly and with the speed and necessity they demand. So here I am out here on this charming Friday in my cathedral of trees, and I expect I'll see you guys tomorrow. All the best. Bye-bye.